What's going on? It's your boy Industrial Dave. Welcome to 6 to 6. Now, on this episode, it's going to be a little bit different. It's not really too scripted. I just want to give a little introduction of what this channel is about. It's going to be a little bit more personal. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, where I come from, my background and everything. And if you stumbled across this video, welcome, man. Welcome to the channel. Hope you're going to learn something. That's why I built this platform. So, what is my channel about? Here on 6 to 6, we are going to be uplifting blue collar workers, right? We make the world go round, man. We're the reason why we can sit here and do these type of things with the lights on. We're the reason, you get to hop in your car and go where you want to go, oil, gas, power, the nuclear industry. I am here to uplift all of the blue collar workers that make the world go round. We are America's infrastructure. Our garbage men, our police officers, the firefighters, the welders, the plumbers, the electricians, the operators, all of these people build infrastructure, including our military for sure. That's what this channel is about. And it's also for people who necessarily don't want to go to college and they haven't figured it out yet. They could be thinking like, oh man, I don't want to work fast food. You don't have to. You could get into trades, man. So that's what I do on this channel. I am going to be promoting trades and manual skilled labor, let me rephrase. Manual skilled labor, specifically targeting jobs that are upwards from 75K and up. A lot of six-figure jobs. This is a six-figure industry for sure, depending on how many hours you want to work and what part of the country you want to live in. Now, me, myself, Dave, I am born and raised in Southern California. I'm from LA. I represent the crib, even when I'm at the crib, right? I was born and raised in Leimert Park area, Crenshaw District. I went to Audubon Middle School, and then, kind of not really the typical black male story. Mine's a little different. I came from a family that had just enough. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I'm from the hood. No, I was raised in the hood, but I'm not from the hood for sure, man. I'm true to it. I come from a good family, I never seen none of my family members argue with each other or anything. Just a really good, solid family. I was raised by my mom and my grandfather on 48th and 4th Ave. Also off of, Western and Wilton Place area. Kind of like, I don't know if some of y'all from LA or whatever. So that's where I grew up. And right about to the time that I got in 9th grade, I got to a point, I started coming into my, I guess you want to call it manhood or whatever. And my mom just kind of said, hey, I think your dad, you want to go stay with your dad, right? So it wasn't because I was bad or anything, but shipped me off. And I went to Oklahoma. So out there, it was, kind of like a culture shock thing for me. I had been out there for the summertime, but never to live. And I got into the drumline thing. That was back when Nick Cannon was out. I was on the drumline and all that stuff, and I loved it. I was really good at it. I played the snare, and my mom flew me out to try out for the drumline and all that stuff. And I ended up making it. It was a big deal for me. But long story short story long, I ended up getting into this program. It was a vocational school. Now, I went to a public school out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this public school has a program for trades. So what happened was I applied for the school, and you only needed a C average. You know what I'm saying? That's all you needed. You just needed a C average and you could apply for the trade school. So I applied and I went for nursing, right? And they hit me up and they were like, hey, the nursing is full. So they were like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm good with my hands. That's all I knew. And they read off a long list of classes. They were talking about electrical. There was like child care development, automotive, and they said welding. And I said, what's that? What's welding? And they read off the list to me. And I said, you know what? I'll give it a try. 17 years later, here I am. I went through the welding course at what's called a vocational school. I went through the welding course at Votech out in Oklahoma, and I did the welding program. So I did the welding program for 2 years, and then the bus would take me to public school. So what happened was 11th to 12th grade, I went to welding school and high school at the same time. for free. I didn't have to pay anything, right? So it was a come up for me. A gentleman came in the classroom and told us about the union. Now, me, I think there was a class of, I think we might have had 20 students, maybe 18, there was only like 2 of us that were black or whatever, but who cares? And there was a guy that came in there with the union and told us about it. And I said, hey, I'm moving back to LA with my mom and dad. You got a number for me? And so he said, yeah. So he gave me the number. The gentleman, I think his name was Jeff or something like that, and gave me the number. I moved back to LA. So I graduated in May, and I applied for the union and kind of like really forgot all about it. I went out there, filled out the paperwork for the apprenticeship, and I just forgot about it. And I got this call on like an early morning. I'm 18 years old, living at home, no bills, no responsibility. Just like I said, I had good parents, man. They told me like, hey, are you still interested in the apprenticeship? And so I'm like, kind of like half sleep, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing all that. I'm 18 year old, and I'm lazy, right? So I go down there, fill the paperwork out. And they do their swearing, and I did all that stuff, and they brought me in the union, in the apprenticeship. And lo and behold, I started working my first job at the oil refinery when I was 18. They printed out the paperwork, and I'll never forget, man. They printed the paperwork out, and they gave me a list. And on this list, it had kind of like my qualification and what I was listed as and my hourly rate. And it said first year apprentice, 25.07 or something. And so I walked back to the window and I said, hey, what's this 25? And he said, that's your hourly rate. And I'm like, oh, okay. So how does it work? Like I go there and I got to pay it back or what? He's like, no, like this is what you make an hour. Like, and I'm like, okay, so wait, let me get this straight. So I'm making $25 an hour, and like I get to keep this. And he's like, yeah, like you just have to pay your initiation fee, which I think it might have been a couple $100, and I didn't even have to pay it all up front, right? So, and lo and behold, I was 18 years old making $25 an hour at the refinery, man. And this was back in 2007. That's when I graduated high school in 07. And that was my start into the welding field, man. And I absolutely loved it. I started working nights. I got married too. I got married to a nice girl from the Inland Empire out in Riverside. Things didn't work out. No bad blood on her name. She's a sweet girl and everything. We got married young. I got married when I was 19. I was 19 years old when I got married. We were married for 12 years. I got an episode talking about the traveling. That's rough. It's not for the faint, right? But I got an episode talking about the traveling and everything. And, we probably could have worked it out, but, it's just kind of like being young and not trained right, and a mix of being in this type of industry, which is hard on the family. Been married before for 12 years. I've been on my second marriage. Yeah, you see that awkward pause? Yeah, I don't want to talk about that one. So I've been married twice or whatever. I got a kid from my first marriage. He stays with me and everything, me and the mom, we pretty much, kind of get along or whatever. We don't really talk to each other, but, we don't have no paperwork or nothing like that on my son. So, he stays with me. She comes and gets him whenever. So it's all gravity with that, pretty good relationship or whatever. My son is special needs. So I'm going to do an episode on that too, just talk about kind of the things that I have to work with and all that stuff. But this is just kind of like a rundown of my life, and pretty much what I'm wanting to share with you guys is I am a human. I'm a real person. I'm not perfect, and I want to share my experience with my family values and what I've learned in the welding field and in the safety field too. Also, I am a safety officer. I have my search for that. But again, I want to share this stuff with you to let you know that this whole YouTube thing is, I'm a real person, right? So I want to talk to my real people. You know what I'm saying? If you want me to, and this is great, and use my YouTube voice and everything, man, you might as well go to another channel, man. I ain't like that. I ain't with it. You know what I'm saying? This is exactly me. This is who I am. So if you're here, welcome. I hope you learned something. That's what this channel is about, is I am going to be giving you guys all the secrets, the ins and outs on how, I'm also a photographer too. So I got a badass picture of this refinery that I was working at out in Fort McMurray, Alberta, man. So I'm also a photographer. I'm also a cobbler. If you don't know what a cobbler is, I do tennis shoes. So I restore tennis shoes, I repair them, I do re-glues and stuff like that. My name is Iceman Cannon on Instagram, but I'm not here for that. My bread and butter of all this and my whole life and everything and how I put food in my mouth and clothe my son has been the heavy industrial sector. All this stuff, right? All these stickers, this oil refinery in the background, and just my whole life. That's exactly how I've made my money and a living. So if you are interested, man, stay tuned. Keep watching the videos, man. Leave a bad comment, leave a good comment. I don't care what you want to do. Just stick here with Dave, and I'm going to let you know the real. Again, this is 6 to 6, and you guys have an industrious day, and welcome to the channel.